Hello and welcome to this lecture. I have titled this lecture Close Reading in Kamala Das's Summer Vacation. So what I'm going to do at the beginning is to offer a quick guideline on to how to do close reading with a literary text. So let me begin with offering some cues or guidelines as to how exactly to proceed with close reading. In close reading, your focus can be on a specific passage and see how this specific passage relates to the text as a whole in terms of the major concerns that the work is trying to discuss and elaborate on. So, the specific attention could be on a particular passage or a particular set of passages as well. We can also look at the entire text really very closely, but that's not usually done. Now, the aim in close reading is to look at significant features of a literary work. The significant features can include rhetoric, structural aspects, and it can also refer to cultural references. So, one can look for details about all these elements in terms of the process of close reading. Making these observations, making these details, collecting all these details constitutes the first step in the process of close reading. So, one has to gather all the important and specific features one is interested in the process of close reading. And as I said, one can pick up on the structural aspects, say for example, how plotting is done, or how exactly a particular cultural event is referenced in a short story. Now, in close reading, the aim in terms of the aim with regard to the selected features, one can look at contrasts and parallels, and as I said, specific historical references can also be studied closely in a particular passage. Now, close reading doesn't simply involve collection of data in relation to elements of structure or elements of culture or history or rhetoric. It involves an interpretation, a close interpretation of the observations, and these observations include all the details, the specifics, the comparisons and the contrast one is able to notice in a particular passage. So, once you collect all these details and specifics, you need to interpret them, apply your mind and apply your rationale and see what they suggest in terms of the larger agenda of the text. And as with inductive reasoning, close reading requires careful gathering of data, your observations, and the more important thing is careful thinking about what these data add up to. So, we need to process the information once they have been collected. And what is the meaning of inductive reasoning? In inductive reasoning, we move from specifics, from specific information, from specific detail to making broad comments, coming up with broad ideas and making generalizations from these specific information. So, close reading is crucial for us to make certain assumptions about a particular work of art. Now, what is the best way to go about in terms of close reading? Please pick up a pencil and start annotating the text when you read it. What do we mean by annotating? Annotating means underlining or highlighting keywords and phrases. So, just mark these interesting or significant pieces of text that you come across in an extract, because these will be the raw material with which you work in order to form larger opinions or ideas about that particular passage, and then you will be able to connect that set of information to the larger text as a whole and its placement in the general society itself if you want to do that. So anything that strikes you as interesting or important or curious, or anything that kind of puzzles you or makes you question it, can be annotated. And we can also make certain notes in the margins. Our responses to certain events or to certain comments will also be helpful when we assess that particular passage that we are close reading and the entire text in which that passage occurs. Such a process of close reading makes us pay really close attention to the lines of text, and we also begin to think like an author. What do we mean by that? To begin to think like an author is to think about all the evidences that an author has in his or her mind to make certain comments. So like an author, we kind of make tracks to get at the basis or the the evidence or the data that the author has come up with in order to make certain comments in the particular passage in a text. And once you think like an author, it also implies that you will also be thinking like a really good critical writer, because you're always already thinking about the writing process too. Because when you start writing, as I mentioned in one of my previous lectures, so you need to come up with justifications or evidences to prove our point. So we always already need to think about evidence that is behind certain claims or arguments in our text. The other important thing, and one that I particularly like, is to look for patterns in the things you have noticed about in the text or in the particular passage that you have chosen for close reading. Look for repetitions. This is very interesting. Does the same kind of color get repeated or referenced in a particular text or short story or novel? Do we get a lot of contradictions, contrary elements in a text? For example, the narrator may make a claim about a particular character, and and the reader who has bought this opinion of the narrator will be looking for justification of that particular understanding about a character within the novel or short story. And instead of that, if we get a totally contrary opinion, then of course we will be surprised. So instead of the character performing what the narrator has told that he would perform, if he has performed something else, there we have a contradiction, a dissimilarity, so to speak. And you can also look for similarities in terms of events or in terms of behavior or in terms of characterizations. So all these will help you to marshal evidence in order to make a larger claim or thesis in your analytical process. And the other important thing to do when you close read is to ask questions about the patterns that you have noticed. So asking questions is not an end in itself. It's just the beginning of the process, because we are trying to find out answers to these questions about interesting things that happen or appear in a story or a novel. And only when you find some answers to your questions, you will have formed full-fledged opinions, full-fledged arguments about a particular short story or a particular character in a short story. So you need to ask these questions such as how and why. Why does a particular character behave in the way she or he does? How does a particular thing happen in the way it did happen? Why not in some other ways? So always look for the rationale or the reasoning behind the motivations behind the character's behavior. Also, once you have collected the evidence, pay close attention to that, and as I said, ask questions about the evidence that you have gathered and try to come up with different kinds of interpretations about the evidence that you have gathered, and see which one is the most likely interpretation, which one is the most sound interpretation among the various judgments or analysis that you come up with, and see which one is more foolproof. Close reading is very, very important to this process of literary criticism and to the process of essay writing, and in fact to the whole academic enterprise. It kind of gives us a window into how we form opinions about our own, how we form judgments about certain characters and texts and novels and works of literature. So the close reading is the workshop in which ideas are kind of traced and formed and expressed. Now, I want to apply these ideas about close reading to a particular passage from Kamala Das's Summer Vacation and see the various interpretations that come out of that process. So I'm going to take a brief passage at the beginning of this story and also make connections from this particular passage to other passages, other incidents and other characters in the rest of the story. So we can easily see how one thing leads to another and how all these points can be connected thematically, and we can try to come up with a larger understanding of this fiction itself. So close reading a particular passage is not an isolated process. It has, as I said, connections to various things, various ideas, and all these ideas can be gathered. All these ideas can be gathered into a larger understanding of the philosophy of this particular work of fiction. Okay, so I'm going to read an excerpt that I'm interested in. This excerpt seems very simple enough to begin with, but as you unpack certain details from this passage, you can see the connections to various incidents, as I said. So this is the point in the story when Mutasi, who is the grandmother of Ammu, and Ammu, the two characters take a walk in the precincts of the house. And when they walk, Mutasi notices a gauze-like dry leaf, and she picks it up and says that this leaf is going to be very useful for me to strain oil, coconut oil, I think. And she says that I'm going to keep it. So what happens? The two characters, they walk back to the house, and Mutasi threw the dry leaf into the front veranda, and we went on to the bathing enclosure to the pond. A towel and a red soap dish with a piece of soap in it were lying on the steps leading to the pond. I'm here in this particular couple of sentences. I'm interested in this action of throwing the dry leaf. She doesn't place it carefully on the floor of the veranda. She just throws it, and that I think is interesting. So the fact that she doesn't keep the leaf carefully on the floor. And this is the statement that I referred to earlier. She says that I can use this leaf as a strainer, as a sieve, when I make oil out of scraped coconut kernel. So this particular incident tells us, this particular information tells us that she is a person who is constantly very productive active. If you notice the actions of Mutasi in the story, she's constantly doing things. She'll be picking up stuff, she'll be making wicks for oil lamps, and here she's planning ahead as to what she's going to make with coconut kernel. So she has an use for everything that she notices around her, but she doesn't carefully save this leaf, which tells us that this leaf is not a precious commodity. Dry gauze-like leaves are probably 10 a penny in the household of Mutasi. So these leaves are easily available because the house is surrounded by trees. There are references to plenty of trees around the house. So since it's easily available, it's also easily dispensable. Mutasi is not going to be terribly worried if the leaf goes missing. So the idea here is that something that is easily available is not carefully preserved. And the attitude is what I want you to pay attention to, because this attitude, the same attitude, has connections with probably Mutasi's behavior to Nani Amma when she frequently comes by the house asking for work. The very fact that this Nani Amma is easily available to get this work done, to get this work of pounding rice done, Mutasi's attitude towards her is slightly flippant and annoyed and other things. As I said, I draw attention to Mutasi's behavior, the careless manner in which she talks to Nani Amma, the condescending manner in which she behaves to Nani Amma, because she comes by the house often asking for rice to be pounded so that she'll get some benefit out of that work is very, very interesting. See, a very simple thing as a dry leaf, and the person who kind of relates to the leaf in a particular way can make us think about other things and characters in this work of fiction. Now let's go back to that extract, and Mutasi and this little girl are in that bathing enclosure, and on seeing the soap dish, Mutasi exclaimed, "I forgot that I had left that soap here. I am lucky the crow didn't steal it." So this is a very interesting statement in these here, because there are two things. One is she says, "I'm lucky because the crow didn't steal it," probably because it's slightly difficult to get hold of a soap, or perhaps because Mutasi doesn't want to lose this commodity before it has been completely used. The other thing is the idea of stealing. So we have this element of foreshadowing mentioned here. Foreshadowing is a literary device that kind of gives us a hint about the things that are going to happen later on in a text or work. So the foreshadowing here is about the thieving, the stealing that Nani Amma would do later on in the story. So the crow's stealing, the probable stealing of the soap dish is an indication of the other more serious kind of stealing that Nani Amma would do later on in the story. So again, the idea of stealing and thieving reminds us, as I said, of the thieving of tamarinds from the Vadakini, from the northern hall of Mutasi's house. So there is a sort of connection here drawn between these two creatures, creatures within quotes. I'll come back to that point in a minute, and the little girl asks, "Why, Mutasi, do crows eat soap?" No, but a crow might take it away, attracted by the color. This is a very interesting question on the part of a girl, a city-bred girl. We have to remember she goes to school in Calcutta. So this question is slightly jarring in terms of the context of the girl. And she says, no, the crow might be attracted by its color, and so it might take it away. And this is reflection on the part of Ammu. She doesn't spell this out, she doesn't speak this out to her grandmother. She just thinks certain things about the nature of Mutasi. She says, dear Mutasi. So she's very fond of her. Even in her mental recollection, we can get a sense of that. So this is suggests that she's very fond of her older grandmother. Dear Mutasi, I thought, how naive she is. Naive means innocent. That used piece of soap was not at all pretty, and yet she thought the crow would steal it. A piece of soap worn down by use, looking like a fragment of a tile. Was it likely the crow would be tempted enough to carry it off? So she is surprised when her grandmother says that the crow might be tempted to carry off this piece of soap because it doesn't look attractive to Ammu. As I said, this question, do crows eat soap? That's a very innocent, ignorant question to ask by Ammu, and it tells her, us that she is quite ignorant about the rural way of life. She is quite ignorant about the natural aspects. So she's not very sure if crows would eat soap. And this can be extrapolated to have connections with other areas where Ammu is innocent too. And we can think about a very interesting incident where she is quite ignorant about how mothers would relate to their children. And her innocence and ignorance comes through in that particular scene when she is totally clueless about the exaggerated scoldings of a mother. So this is the scene that I'm talking about. If you remember the scene, we have a group of village women who have come to visit Mutasi because they know that this girl from the city is there, and probably they are coming by to welcome the girl. And they all sit together in a group and have a chat, a conversation. And while that's happening, one of the women has a baby, and the baby starts crying, and Mutasi says, perhaps the baby is hungry, and the mother says, no, he has just had a feed, he is simply being difficult. And the mother, this is the quotation spoken by the mother says, the rascal deserves a sound slap. She tried to frighten the child by rolling her eyes in anger. I'll kill you, she said, just you wait, one of these days I'll really kill you. And Ammu, she doesn't realize or notice the exaggeration in that, in her manner, in the way she threatens her little child. So she is slightly frightened, and she moved closer to Mutasi and asked her in a whisper, will she really kill the child? So it's interesting to see that Ammu takes everything at face value here, and that's the point that I'm trying to make, that that she is really innocent in certain areas. And Mutasi doesn't understand Ammu's question, so Ammu repeats, will she kill that child? Who are you talking about? Asks Mutasi. That child's mother. And Mutasi, as soon as she understands Ammu's apprehension, she burst out laughing. This is a very touching scene as well. On one level, it's very funny because she doesn't understand the truth behind the exaggerated words of the mother. The mother is just trying to have some fun, and Amu doesn't understand that. On another sense, that this scene is very touching too, because she has no clue as to how mothers would behave with their children. So having this lack of experience is the reason for her set of questions. So no experience of mother's exaggerated use of words while playing with her child. This information is really shocking as well as moving, because of the lack of a mother's love that Amu receives. The fat woman asked me in a horrified voice, "Amu, would mothers ever kill their own children? No one loves a child more than its own mother does." So the woman, after she understands Amu's questioning, she is horrified. She's horrified to learn that Amu would think that she would murder her child, her own children. And she says, no mother would do that. No one loves child more than its own mother. And we all know that why Amu asks this question. And one of the other women who was in the group says, "Poor child," making a reference to Amu. "Poor child, how can she know, because she has no experience." So this lack of mother's love and the ignorance caused by that is reinforced in this particular scene, and as well as by this older woman who asked this question. Now let me go back to that earlier ignorance I was talking about, the ignorance and innocence that she reveals when she talks about does a crow eat soap, and because it tells you that the naivety that she talks about in terms of her grandmother is actually her own naivety that she is revealing there. And this consciousness of Amu that we see in that short extract reveals Amu's superior attitude, an attitude probably stemming from her city life. And it also tells us that she is very condescending as well when she assesses Mutasi's character and understanding when she talks about the potential theft of a soap in the bathing enclosure. Now, I want to go back again to that extract and do a little bit of close reading again. The soap there in that soap dish is a used piece of soap, and it's worn down by use. So these are two interesting characteristics about the object there. In other words, they are not pristine, and they are worn out. Okay, so if it's unused, it would be pristine. The point that I'm trying to make here is that the soap has been used, the soap is incomplete, and the soap is worn out. In other words, it's not pristine. And Amu is wondering why a crow would steal something which is not pristine and something which is which has been used. And it's interesting to see that she is applying human logic here to the crow's behavior. And yet she thought the crow would steal it, and she cannot understand that how Mutasi would think a crow would steal this incomplete used piece of soap. Was it likely that the crow would be tempted enough to carry the soap off? So here we can see a very subjective subjective assessment of the scene here. Her view is one that doesn't take into consideration others' views. That's something we should note. Amu doesn't care. Amu doesn't care about the logic of the crow, but all she cares and has experience of is that the soap is not attractive. It has been used, so it cannot possibly be attractive to a creature. Now, the other thing to notice about that extract is that the soap is compared, the used piece of soap is compared to a fragment of a tile, and she says, and it's not a, it's not even a complete tile, a fragment, a bit of tile that's used for perhaps for flooring or sometimes used in roofs. So it's broken, and again the idea that it is not complete, it's not pristine, it has been used, it has been worn down, worn out. So even the comparison there reinforces our perception of Amu's understanding of something that has been used. So it's incomplete, it's workaday, in other words it is ordinary. So that's what and that's what and that makes it less attractive to Amu, and therefore she thinks probably to the crow as itself, and she thinks that her grandmother Mutasi is wrong to think that a crow would steal it. Now, we can extrapolate Amu's assessment of this scene in the bathing enclosure to another scene in the story when she judges Nani Amma's thieving. So Amu has just one perception about that particular incident. She has one particular dimension for the theft that Nani Amma commits in her grandmother's house. However, when Amu pushes this woman into a corner and offers harsh comments, she constantly, if you remember the scene, attacks Nani Amma and says that you are just a petty thief, you probably shouldn't come back to the house at all, and words to that effect. When pushed, Nani Amma offers another dimension to the thieving that she does in that household. That another dimension is that there are rich, there are poor in the world, something that Amu doesn't seem to realize. And with these two categories, polar categories at play in society, then crime itself becomes complicated, it becomes multi-dimensional with such inequities in society. So that seems to be hinted in that scene. So let's go back to that extract again. What I'm trying to do here, and what I hope that you are following, is that I'm making certain connections from this bit of close reading that I'm doing on a passage, and I'm making connections to other incidents and other characterizations through this particular passage, and that will tell you how a passage can have global significance in connection with the text that one is reading. So to follow on with that extract, so Amu asks, "So Mutasi, you think the crow knows what is pretty?" Of course, is there any doubt? The crow has a keen eye for beauty. Otherwise, why does it carry off the small oil bowls? Amu, birds are very intelligent. They have more common sense and knowledge than human beings. So the grandmother here offers not only her opinion but also her evidence for that opinion. And here we see a kind of a close reading example, so to speak, because the opinion is being justified. The opinion is being justified with specific evidence and that that Mutasi has gathered through her experience while living in this household. So Mutasi, you think the crow knows what is pretty? That question itself is very, very interesting, because there are two things. One is, it shows us that Amu doesn't think highly of her grandmother's judgment. There is a slight condescension there in that question. It's a very, very interesting question. And it also questions the quality of others' knowledge as well, the other being the crow here. So, and the crow can stand for any other in the society, anybody who is not the self, who is not the speaker. So, Amu questions not only Mutasi's understanding, she also questions the understanding of other beings in the society around her. Now, as I said, the grandmother not only offers her opinion, she offers hard evidence for her opinions, her claims, and her claims are, you know, are something that she has constructed through her experience of the world in that big house. And she offers the example of small oil bowls that were stolen by the crows. These bowls need not necessarily be very attractive to human beings, but they may be very attractive to these crows who steal them. And it's very interesting that the grandmother says that crows have a keen eye for beauty, very keen eye for beauty, which means they have sharp aesthetic appreciation. What do we mean by the word keen? The word keen means something of great perception or highly developed sense, and these qualities, which are usually used for human beings, generally used for human beings, are used here in the context of a crow. And that's very interesting, because the grandmother uses these positive qualities to a being that is not human. Now, everybody knows that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's the general understanding, a cliched understanding almost. And so what is ordinary to us may be extraordinary to others. What is ugly to some may appear beautiful to some other kinds of people. So beauty is subjective, not objective. So let's make some connections from this assessment of beauty, the concept of beauty that is developed through this soap dish, to another example at some other point in the story, where Amu makes a remark about another object and says that that object is very, very attractive. So this is the scene that I want us to take a closer look. Nani Amma bowed her head. She does that, by the way, because she is being reprimanded by Mutasi for coming to the house quite frequently to ask for work, and Mutasi is not best pleased. So Nani Amma bowed her head. She stroked her daughter's hair and smiled. It's a very gentle action here, a very emotional gesture there, and she smiled. Again, a very interesting gesture that I'll come back to unpack in a minute. I was fascinated, the I here is Amu. Amu was fascinated by the iron ring she wore on her right hand, on Nani Amma's right hand. So Nani Amma is wearing an iron ring. a ring with intricate work on it. Interesting phrase. She wore a shabby mundu and torn blouse, and yet I thought she was lucky to be wearing such an unusual ring. Very interesting last idea, that she was lucky to be wearing such an unusual ring. So this intricate iron ring captures the attention of Amu, just as a piece of red soap might capture the attention of a crow, or just as an oil bowl might capture the attention of a crow. And this intricate iron ring makes Amu admire it greatly, and she thinks that Nani Amma is really fortunate to wear this ring, fortunate to be the possessor of this ring. And we can even kind of detect a slight tinge of jealousy there, perhaps in Amu's thoughts. So the word intricate is very interesting because it suggests complexity. It suggests complexity, and complexity in art objects imply that maybe they are higher kinds of artistic objects. There is a higher value placed on complex artistic things in our society generally. So what are the questions that we need to ask, or the questions that we should ask about this art object? Should we see that Nani Amma or Amu appreciates this higher art? And this, as the text points out, is an unusual ring. It's an uncommon ring. It's a strange ring. And just because she's wearing something unusual, uncommon and higher, should the possessor of that thing be considered as lucky? So these are some of the questions that come to our mind. And again, should we see or should we ask this question, is Nani Amma, the poor woman who comes to beg for work, is lucky to have such a piece of higher art? Is she fortunate? She could be poor, but she is lucky because she is the possessor of such higher artistic objects. And the other question that comes up again is Nani Amma capable of understanding higher art? This question is a loaded question that I am asking here. Just as the city bred Amu, she perhaps is also appreciative of this beautiful thing. Now, after we pay attention to this complex ring, Nani Amma's character becomes a little bit complex. So we have several things here to make an assessment about her character. She smiles when she is reprimanded by Mutasi. What sort of reaction is that? That is also an unusual reaction. Perhaps it's a kind of a philosophical acceptance of difficulties that come by her, or is it simply a strategy of survival? You know, the higher ups will constantly snap at you, shout at you, find fault with you. You just accept it and get along. Otherwise, how exactly are you going to find work in this world, especially if you're poor? So as I said, the characterization becomes complex when certain details are noticed and evaluated. So as I said, she is the owner of a shabby mundu, a torn blouse and an intricate ring, a ring that the city bred girl is appreciative of, and yet she is also very poverty stricken, and can we, as I said, can we ask this question, could a poverty stricken woman be also appreciative of higher art? So again, this question that I asked earlier, does she really realize the aesthetic merit of the ring? This question is comparable to the other question that Amu asked about the crow. Do you think the crow knows what is pretty? So these two questions have a similar ring in terms of its meaning. So these two questions do one thing. If we ask them, they underestimate the other. They do not offer the quality of thought to the other, and we should avoid making such questions. We should avoid asking such questions, because people are capable of different kinds of knowledges. They are made up of uneven kinds of knowledges. And I'll give you an example of the uneven kind of knowledge that Nani Amma has. For example, when she visits the big house with Mutasi, visits the big house with her young daughter, and Mutasi asks, "How old is your daughter?" And Nani Amma responds by saying, "She was born when that terrible storm struck our village. Everyone was in a hurry to leave their houses with their beds and their cooking vessels. Only I remained unable to get up from where I was lying." So it's very interesting that when she is asked a question, she doesn't give a particular number, a very brief answer. Nani Amma paints a picture here to that question. She was born on that particular night when there was a big storm and things were topsy-turvy. Everybody was in a hurry to leave, but I, being heavily pregnant, I was stuck to where I was. And this phrase, "only I remained immobile when everybody was mobile around me in the village," kind of offers an interesting contrast here between this poor lonely woman and the rest of the society. So as I said, it kind of emphasizes the loneliness, the isolation, the suffering that one undergoes, especially at a difficult moment in one's personal journey, is highlighted here. And we can also speculate on further and ask, is she a single mother? Is she a widow? Doesn't she have a husband, a companion, or a family member to take care of the family? So all these questions are generated through these few ideas that she throws out in the context of the birth of her little girl. So another thing that is very striking about that particular passage is that like Mutasi, Nani Amma is also in tune with nature. So that particular example that I just read out shows that when asked about the age of the daughter, she offers a natural calamity as a reference for that. So she calculates time according to natural happenings in the village, even though there are other more modern ways of accounting for time, the passage of time. It doesn't seem to follow the Gregorian calendar that most people follow today, or most people followed even back in those days. So this snippet of information that we get about Nani Amma changes the perspective that we have had, that we get when we do a very brief reading of the story. So close reading does open up windows into the motivations, the social backdrop and the background, and the various character motivations of the people that litter the fictional landscape. Now, through this process of close reading, I have established a connection between Nani Amma and the crow. These two figures are the others. I would call the others, people who are outside the pale of this high society made up of Mutasi, Amu, and Amu's father, Velai the Menon. So how does this high society assess these two representatives of the other, the category of the other? Now, we need to remember that even though Mutasi has reprimanded Nani Amma for coming by the house quite often, she is not hesitant to offer succor to Nani Amma. So, if we notice at the end of the story, she does offer Nani Amma the rice to take home, despite being harsh to her to a certain extent when she meets her. Considering this, should we also speculate and ask this interesting question of, does Mutasi know about Nani Amma's thieving attitude? Is this the first time that Nani Amma has done something of this kind, or has it been a frequent occurrence, something that Mutasi turns a blind eye to? So these questions are quite logical to ask in the set of information that we collect from the rest of the story, especially in relation to the attitude of the grandmother, who seems to have a rough exterior, but deep down, hidden inside, there is a soft corner that she tries to kind of hide and not reveal to those around her. Thank you for watching. I'll catch up with you in the next session.